Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ox Talks. Appreciate you tuning in and watching the show today. Please like, share the videos, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Also, if you don't mind, hit that bell notification so you all get notice when I drop new videos. I'm trying to do a couple a day on differing topics, okay, as well as the Stay Out of Court series, which I'm going to keep adding additional episodes to as we go along and as time permits. I want to share two stories today that I thought were important on the economic front. One came out of the New York Post yesterday, and then today, with the release of the retail sales numbers this morning, another story that out of Market Watch. I want to share both with you because I want you to see the kind of the juxtaposition, if you will, between what we hear in one article, what you see about the disastrous situation of the average consumer in this country, but yet you have spin put on the retail sales report in order to make it look like the economy is strong and the consumer is resilient. So please stay tuned to the end so you can hear both of these stories. All right, I'm going to start with the one from New York Post yesterday. And it says, Americans are falling behind on credit card bills, auto loans, and Wall Street is getting worried. So signs are multiplying that Americans are struggling to keep up with their bills, and Wall Street is getting worried. A recent survey by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York found that around 9.1% of credit card balances turned delinquent over the past year. That's the highest rate in more than a decade. Okay, we got to go back 10 years, more than 10 years, to find a point where credit card balances had turned delinquent, this high of a percentage of balances had turned delinquent. It says the same study found that 8% of balances on auto loans were overdue, and that's the highest since 2010. So that's what, almost 15 years now. We have to go back to find that bad of a statistic as it relates to overdue balances on auto loans. It says banking executives told the Wall Street Journal over the weekend that the increasingly heavy burden of soaring grocery costs and high interest rates on credit cards are causing greater delinquencies. Citigroup Chief Financial Officer Mark Mason told bankers at Barclays banking conference last week that their clients' balances have accumulated at a higher rate than usual, even as delinquencies have ticked up. Growth in spending is driven mainly by Citi's affluent customers, right? The wealthy are still spending, but think about the statement before, that balances have accumulated at a higher rate than usual, even as delinquencies have picked up, right? So people are still spending more than they should be spending. They're running up credit limits, although they're going delinquent. Okay, what does that tell you? It means that they're still getting fed credit, they're still getting credit lines, they're still getting offers to apply for more credit. And again, we know that's how this ended in 2008, okay? Going down that same exact road, probably a lot worse this time. The article continues. Russ Hutchinson, the CFO of auto lender Ally Financial, told the Journal that his company has seen an uptick in late payments and charge-offs when lender deems a loan is unlikely to be collected and writes off the debt as a loss. And that's on auto loans. We did a video last week on Ally Financial and the disastrous level of delinquencies on auto loans across this country. Go back and look at that video. It's massive. What that tells you, he says, if people do get behind on their payments in this environment, it's tougher to get out of them. According to Moshe Orenbach, an analyst at TD Cowen, told the Journal. Well, it's tougher to get out of them because everybody is paying huge rates on their credit card balances, much higher rates on auto loans. And so when you fall behind 60, 90, 120, I discussed this a few days ago on the show, you're unlikely to come out of that. Unless you had a windfall of some sort, you're unlikely to catch that up, right? So it's just the beginning of the end, really, when people fall that far behind. It says, in general, this has been a bigger issue for people in the bottom half of the income spectrum. Of course, more are falling into the bottom half of the income spectrum as the wealth gap widens in this country, right? The haves and the have-nots. Go back and check out last week's videos on the Wall Street versus Main Street. The jitters on Wall Street are rising as the U.S. economy remains a top issue in the 2024 presidential election for voters who, after 3 years of rampant inflation under the Biden administration, are faced with a shaky job market. Ally said it has seen delinquencies rise around 0.2% above expectations, while net charge-offs were 0.1% above projections. Again, go back and look at the video on Ally. They're giving credit. They're extending car loans to people with 520 FICO scores. 520 FICO scores. I don't even think you should be able to finance a Big Mac with a 520 FICO score. Ally's Hutchinson noted that Ally clients have been struggling with the cost of living and are now struggling with an employment picture that's worse. Well, that's probably true. And so those are the people that shouldn't be given car loans and taking on $600, $700, $800 monthly car payments that they can't afford. And you got to believe that a company like Ally knows exactly what's happening. Eventually, those people are going to go late. They're going to not be able to pay their loan, and then the car is going to be repossessed. In the last month, Citigroup's stock price has been down by nearly 5%, it says, while Ally Financial has seen its shares plummet by more than 20% during the same period. Shares of Discover Financial Services, which also has signaled a slowdown in consumer spending, are down 1%. Listen to this. The average interest rate on a 60-month loan for a new car was 8.2% as of May, which is up from 5.3% in 2019, according to Fed data. Car payments are among the last bills that people stop paying due to the critical importance of having a vehicle that is needed to get around. Ted Jenkins, co-founder and CEO of Atlanta-based financial planning firm Oxygen Financial, told The Post, right now, Americans are having a hard time with delaying gratification, and they keep spending even when they can't afford it. And of course, isn't that the problem? I was just getting a haircut about an hour ago, and my friend who does my hair was saying that she was talking to a client, and the client said, well, I never spend more than I make in any given day. Listen to that. I never spend more than, not on bills, spend, go buy stuff, more than I make in any given day. Think about that thought process. Think about that rationale. There is no rationale to it, right? It's crazy. It's crazy town, crazy talk, and that's what's happening in this country. So on the heels of that, Wall Street knows exactly what's going on. That's the thumbnail, for today that they know. On the heels of that, we get today's retail sales report, and the title of the article from MarketWatch is shows the economy is still on solid ground ahead of the Fed rate cut. The stable consumer spending keeps recession at bay. It says sales at retailers rose slightly in August in a sign of resilience among U.S. households, suggesting the economy is still on solid footing as the Federal Reserve plots to cut interest rates. And tomorrow is the big Federal Reserve rate cut decision or not. Is it going to be 25 basis points, 50 basis points, nothing? We'll have to wait and see. So sales inched up 0.1% last month. The government said Tuesday, okay, so those are government numbers. The increase was better than expected, meaning it rose more than expected. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had forecast a 0.2% decline on the expectation that car sales last month would be a big drag. It says they were not. So again, people continue to go out and take on auto loans at 8%, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 a month payments for cars that they simply can't afford, and they end up in delinquency and ultimately repossession, we know. If automobiles are omitted, retail sales were still up 0.1%. So even taking out auto sales, retail sales were still up. That was a hair below the 0.2% forecast. Retail sales, it says, represent about 1/3 of all consumer spending and offer clues on the strength of the economy. It says sales decreased at grocery stores, big box retailers, department stores, and clothing stores. Yet part of the decline stems from lower prices for goods, bringing some relief to consumers. Let me repeat that, because if you just take some at face value, it's misleading. Sales also decreased at grocery stores, big box retailers, and department stores and clothing stores. Why did sales decrease? They're saying sales decreased because the prices are lower. I would wager that sales decrease because people can't afford to keep buying as much at the grocery store, shopping at big box retailers and department stores, and buying clothing, right? You guys comment below again. Have you seen the prices for goods bring any relief to you guys and your monthly output? Restaurant sales, a key economic bellwether, it says, were flat in August, ending a string of 4 straight months of increases. Okay, it says restaurant sales tend to rise when the economy is healthy and Americans feel secure in their jobs. The restaurant sales are not going up. Okay, it's breaking the trend from the last 4 months. Right now, it says they are signaling a stable economy. So what this author is saying is because restaurant sales haven't gone up, they've stayed flat, that signals a stable economy. No, it doesn't. People simply aren't out eating. That signals an economy and a consumer in decline. Big picture, it says consumers are spending more than enough to keep the economy growing. Household spending accounts for 70% of U.S. economic activity. So what this doesn't explain is that it just says spending. But how many of these people are actually using cash or cash equivalent to buy the things that they're spending on to contribute to this 70% of U.S. economic activity? And how many of those people are flat broke and are using credit cards, pulling money off of lines of credit, doing anything they can, using pay as you go and multi-pays, things of that nature to make these acquisitions, make these purchases that in many respects they have no business making. So look at the sentiment, the mindset. I heard that story today from my friend. It's not changing, okay? It's not changing, and we're going to go right back into the same absolute collapse that we experienced in the great financial crisis. So buckle up. I hope the folks that are watching this show are not falling into that trap. Again, I appreciate all of you, and if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel, we'll keep growing the community. Hit that thumbs up and the bell notification. All of you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.